All right, everybody, I'm going to do a Cards of Truth reading today, a pick a reading. So you're going to find out what is the problem that you are facing this week and how you can overcome it. And if you don't know Cards of Truth, it's an amazing system. It's not tarot. It's a little bit related to tarot, but it's an older system actually, and it involves the standard deck of playing cards, a 52 card deck with all these amazing meanings having to do with astrology and numerology, and it's incredible. It's fantastic for really tapping into your intuition. Today I'm going to use this deck, this Japanese Prince deck, which is awesome because the cards look different depending on which way you are holding them, right side up or upside down. And I just like this deck, but this enables me to read all of the reverses that are going on. So the meaning is different this way versus this way. So without further ado, how we're going to do this is I decided to grab a few essential oils. So you are going to pick the essential oil that in this particular moment you just feel more called to. And so I have three choices for you. I have this rosemary right here. I have peppermint. And I have clove. So rosemary number 1, peppermint number 2, and clove number 3. All right, so go ahead and make your selection. And now I'm going to get started with the rosemary reading. And again, this is a problem-solving reading. So it's just, generally speaking, projected to the week ahead. We're going to learn about what are the problems going on for you, what do you understand, what do you not understand, and I'll explain as we go. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a little shuffling here. And when it feels right, I go ahead and stop. And then I'm going to put on the screen, hopefully, the reading or the cards when it's done. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to do a 6-card spread here, geared towards solving problems. So, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on the screen. You can look at that for a moment. So first of all, in the top left position, in this spread as I've created it here, this top left position is actually the reverse Queen of Diamonds. And this card is indicating in this spread in the top left, this is the way that you're viewing the problem. So you're essentially viewing the problem as something that you don't have enough resources to sustain, sort of running out of fuel, and then basically being overworked. So in your mind, you're being overworked. And there could be, I'm seeing 3 court cards here. So my mind is also going to that this is really a person we're talking about. So it's a lighter haired or lighter complexioned, as we say, someone who's sort of on the lighter hair side, who could be causing issues for you. And so your focus is on that person. So that's sort of another interpretation for this. The person versus just the general state of having too much going on, not being able to handle it. That's what you think is going on. The reality is you're actually being offered an opportunity to learn something new. This is actually, I'm picking up on this in this slot as the direct 3 of clubs. I would say you have an educational opportunity, and so there's something new that you can learn about this, but it's going to require doing something. So it's right away, it feels like it's the equivalent of being sort of stuck at home, and kind of like a nagging mother is telling you what to do and what to think, and that's where your focus is. But the reality is you just had an opportunity come up on a new class you can take, maybe a new job you want to apply for, something like that, and you're kind of avoiding looking at that, even though the opportunity has a lot going for you. So the next 2 cards down here have to do with kind of what action you can take in this time. They're going to be most supportive. So what you think you should do is, this is the energy of a reversed King of Clubs. So it's the energy of getting, in the context of where we're going here, I feel like it's the energy of getting burnt out. So it's almost like you feel like the only option you really have, or the best option you have, is to just kind of like quit while you're ahead, quit in the position where you're at, and like you can't take this educational, I feel like it's educational in some way, even if it's not strictly speaking related to school. I feel like there's a really educational component to this. So it's kind of like instead of looking at that, you're saying, well, there's too much going on. I'm not going to be able to handle the workload. It wouldn't work out. And you're kind of dismissing it out of hand. And so what you think that you should do is pretty much take a step back because you think it's too advanced and too sophisticated. So there's more to say about that, but let's sort of keep the flow going here. The next card is what you actually should do. That's for your greatest and highest good. This is the direct Four of Hearts. This is a card of emotional stability. So what you want to do actually in this time, as you're presented with this opportunity that feels very educational to me, and educational especially in the sense of something you would pursue, an independent kind of study thing, or it's not just sort of sitting in class and just kind of taking notes and taking the test, but it's really an opportunity that you would have to be proactive with. And the thing that you need to do is you need to understand that there is an emotional piece in doing that. So, I'm going to continue with this metaphor of school because it might not be that for you, but this is going to serve as a template for how to understand it. It's sort of like you think that going to this class, taking on this new educational opportunity is going to be way too burdensome. But actually, it's almost like there's this cool cafe on campus that you're going to fall in love with. And there's this really cool nook in the library that you're going to discover. And you're going to make a couple cool friends that are just very chill, zen kind of people that are on your wavelength. So in doing this opportunity, you're going to actually find a way to feel really relaxed. Then the last two cards here, this card that I have at the bottom left of this spread, this King of Hearts, is referring to the big pitfall. The card in this card is basically like the thing to watch out for, sort of like, I really think of it in terms of like what you might be blindsided by. So like you might think you're doing the right thing and you might think you found the right way to navigate this situation, but what's the kind of like skeleton that can pop out of the Halloween house, like totally scare you out of nowhere and that you might not be prepared for. So the real danger, the sort of pitfall here is a King of Hearts energy, which is interesting because this is actually a very like grandfatherly energy, a Santa Claus energy. It's very well supportive of emotional health and well-being. And it's a card that would normally enable you and give you the space to kind of take a step back. But another thing I want to point out is that the three cards on the left of this spread, all of which are indicating illusions or problems, are all court cards. They're a queen and two kings. We had the Queen of Diamonds and then the King of Clubs, and now we have the King of Hearts. The court cards most oftenly in a spread like this will actually indicate people. So actual people in your life. And I feel like the fact that it's a Queen and two Kings, not any Jacks, this is a more mature energy. The Queens and the Kings are more mature than the Jacks, which are more youthful. And so I really feel like the picture is kind of creating itself as I go through this, because it's really adding to the idea of what I said before, because I was more focused on the first couple cards in the beginning, and I hadn't quite put these pieces in, but now it's really interesting for me. It's very validating to what I'm saying, because I said earlier that it was almost like someone who is not sure what, like they're dealing with a nagging mother or a difficult mother or something. I said that was a possibility. And so now what I'm thinking is that this is generally an issue with maturity and or adulthood. So either literally or metaphorically, there's a situation of feeling like you can't cope with what adulthood means at this moment for you, or probably there are actually people who you view anyway as being more adult or more mature than you are, who are causing issues for you. So in this case, the obstacle is really, I would say someone who, I'm getting a wolf in sheep's clothing. So, and again, it could be someone who's a little bit lighter haired, a man who's lighter haired and or lighter complexioned, or whatever kind of would suit that kind of for whatever ethnicity or race, obviously. But it's someone who somehow is lighter on the spectrum. That's somehow how this is understood. And it has to do with, there's someone who seems like a role model figure, a parental figure who seems like that they're looking out for you. It could be I feel like it could be a teacher, or it could be a counselor, or it could be, if it's at work, it could be someone in HR as opposed to a direct superior. It's someone who's there, a teacher who's definitely more like a mentor type, someone who you might normally go to. The issue is this is fundamentally an opportunity for independence and for learning something new in a way that has a lot of proactivity on your own behalf. This is what I said earlier. So it's sort of like you want to think about threading the needle. There's this idea of inaction and being lazy or caving into what the stresses around you, the motherly stresses around you, the nagging energy wants you to do. Like, you need to go help me with this chore. You need to help me with this activity. You need to, there are these other commitments that I'm signing you up for that are more important. And then on the other extreme, there's this sense of, oh, I can just sort of drift into this new opportunity and get taken care of. Those are both kind of pitfalls and issues here. The reality is you need to try to be proactive and relaxed about taking on a new endeavor, but do it in a way that's on your own terms. And once you commit to that, I think you're going to find that peace space that you're looking for. The very last card here is the outcome. So it's how things are actually going to turn out for you. You know, what do you have to look forward to as a result of whatever decisions or things happen in the next week? And it's a reverse 7 of diamonds. This is a bit of a more stressful card. And the word inaction or inactivity is popping up for me. I don't know if you're going to most likely take the most proactive decision right away. I think it's going to take you a while. I think what's going to happen is I'm feeling like this actually is speaking about money or some kind of a concrete resource. I think whatever the project is you're interested in taking on, this new thing that you have to learn something from, or a new class or a new course, I think maybe it's costing more than you would like, it's costing more than you can afford, or it's costing more than you're comfortable with. And if it's not strictly money, it has to do with maybe fear that you're not qualified enough, you don't have the prerequisites somehow, or you haven't learned enough, or you're not respected enough. And I think what's going to happen for you is that you're not going to be able to let go of those stories that are holding you back. It's probably something that's been with you for a long time about the reasons why you don't have permission to take on this new project. It probably has to do with narratives maybe that come from your mother's lineage, or, you know, kind of a negative fear program, or a lack of resource programming, a fear of not having enough, a fear of lack, something that has perhaps come from your mother's side, your mother's energy. And I think that's holding you back here from taking on this new endeavor. So I look at it as it's going to be a bumpy process for you to actually kind of get the wherewithal to move forward on this. But this is a card that can really build character. The 7s can really build character when you can approach them correctly. So I think it's going to be challenging, but I think in the long run, the outcome is going to be an ability to actually take this on. You know, it's just going to take some time. Okay, so that was the rosemary oil spread. So I'm now going to move on. Our next spread is peppermint spread. So I'm guessing maybe the rosemary people. I'm gonna after this video, I'm gonna have to redo where the cards are. I'm slightly low text still. That's okay though, because I want to get the pictures up for you guys. Maybe the rosemary people are feeling a little bit more. Rosemary is a very heart essence, isn't it? Peppermint is a little more cooling. So maybe you guys are feeling a little more cool tonight with the peppermint. So let's find out what's going on with you guys, the peppermint. All right, same spread. Let's do this, peppermint people. Let's see what's going on with you this week, what problems you're addressing. Okay. All right, here. So this is interesting. This spread is quite different in its energy with what's going on. So the first thing is what you think the problem is. I think you're worried about being happy right now. The 8 of Hearts has a lot to do with reaching a very high level of emotional fulfillment. So I feel like you're very stressed about it too. I feel like it's not just that you're kind of, it's in your background, but I think what's happened is you've put this idea of happiness on such a pedestal that you're almost obsessed at this current moment. I don't know why it feels so stressed right now for this energy, for the peppermint people. I think you're being very hard on yourself about the fact that you think you're not happy enough, actually. It's almost like I have what I need. I have stuff that I should have enough. I should have enough to be happy regardless of what's going on in my life. But the actual problem for you is Queen of Diamonds. That's one similarity to the last spread, because we had the Queen of Diamonds in a similar position for the Rosemary people. So here I think what the real problem is you're just not pursuing things right now. And also, I'm drawn especially to the Neptune aspect of Queen of Diamonds, because the Queen is related to the planet Neptune in this system, which is an energy of dreaminess, an energy of maintaining a consistent level in a sense. There is kind of a Vishnu energy, you could also say. So it's a sustaining energy, but there, especially when you bring in the Neptune quality, it can get almost deceptive. Things can go on for a long period of time. And so when it's paired with this first card, I feel like it has something to do with a situation where you feel you've been in a certain emotional situation for so long, and it's almost like sometimes you can't even tell if you're happy or not, and that itself is stressing you out. Let's keep going. What you think that you should do about addressing this happiness issue, which is sort of an abstract issue, but I really feel like that's where you are, is that this is a reverse Four of Clubs. So what you think you should do is really mix things up. You think that what you need to do is kind of like move, like literally move from the house where you are, or make some big change in your life. I think you're starting to contemplate like seismic changes to your life, and you're starting to say, no, I've been complacent and stable for way too long. I've been in this situation that other people would say is really beneficial for me, but I'm completely stuck here, because I haven't gotten to the happiness level I was supposed to get to. So this isn't working. There's a lot of frustration. And so you're saying like the only solution is, you think, for you to kind of ditch everything and almost like buy a camper van, and just kind of road trip. You're at the point where you're actually considering stuff like that. Or it could be quitting work, but I'm not really seeing like quitting a job. It feels like there's movement. So buying a van and traveling around, or traveling in some other sense, or it could be ending a relationship, especially a relationship that's given you a lot of stuff. I feel like a relationship where you're living in a house that's nicer than you would be able to afford alone, and you're living there because of your partner. And you're considering, oh, screw it, I don't want to be here. I'd rather just live in a tiny studio apartment than live in this huge house and then feel so confused and unhappy, or not sure if I'm even happy. What can you actually do, though? What's a better course of action? Reverse Jack of Clubs. So this is really interesting. So if what we're being told is to reverse the Jack of Clubs, I think what you're being called to do right now is to take a giant dose of maturity. Okay? It's almost like if you had a grandfather or a grandfather figure who was this amazing listener, like the grandpa everyone would want. What advice would he give you? It's like, and it's very delicate, because I don't think this is saying just do the practical thing. Like, let's say you were in a partnership with someone and it's not working, and you think about ending the relationship and moving on your own or something. The advice is not necessarily, oh, you don't want to do that. You want to stay for that security. Stay in the relationship. Or, you don't want to move and sell your possessions. Or you don't want to quit this job or something. You want to stay where you are. Like, that would be too forced almost. That would be too restrictive and heavy-handed. And that's not the kind of advice that you need. But I'm saying like a grandfather figure who would be supportive in a much more organic kind of way, that would actually understand you and your life. And someone who would actually fully understand you, who would almost take an inventory of your life and say, here's who you are, here are your problems, here's what's working, here's what's not working. Someone who would be able to do that in a very compassionate way, but still from a place of maturity and still from a place of being realistic, right? Which is kind of a lot to ask for all these qualities. But what advice would they give? So you need to think in terms of that level. It's a very lofty advice. One thing you don't want to do is make a rash decision. That's what I feel like. Your mind is kind of on overdrive right now. It's like idea after idea after idea. Like you're constantly getting new plans. I feel like it's I don't know why I keep going back to this. Selling your possessions and getting the camper van, going to Costa Rica all of a sudden, ending a relationship and moving into a smaller space, going to an ashram or a spiritual retreat, quitting your job and getting something that pays a lot less, but that you think will sort of mix things up. Or it could even be quitting your job and doing something to make more money, in the sense that I think it could be that if you're almost doing it in a burnt out way, like a job where you think you're like being a teacher in a difficult situation where you're going to work every day and you had the opportunity for a career where you would have twice the salary, but you took the job that paid less because you thought you loved being around children or you loved the mission, the sense of purpose. It's almost like you're now at the point where you're like, do I even care that much? You want to quit the teaching job and do like the consulting job to make twice as much. These are just examples, right? And what this is saying is, if you can stop that cycle of new ideas constantly, that will help you. And you want to find a more mature decision that's going to be way more grounded and that's going to be able to look at your emotional needs while being realistic at the same time. I think every new thought that comes into your head is an opportunity for you to get even more confused right now. So maybe stay away from that. And you know what? The next card is totally confirming what I just said. This is the pitfall card. This is the card of like, what's the boogeyman that's going to jump out and scare you that you might not see? What could you really be prepared for? So you can say, oh, right, I actually did see that coming. It's a Three of Spades energy. And Three of Spades energy, when it's direct, it's like Mars in a fire sign. It's a very decisive energy, an energy of extreme forward action on an independent basis, okay? It's like, I need to do this right now. I'm going to do this. I'm going to create this. I'm going to engineer this. I'm going to fix this now. Okay, it moves very quickly. And it's a good energy because it's direct. It's not doing so out of a negative place. It's doing so out of a positive place. But this is your pitfall card. Your pitfall card is there's going to be situations coming up, especially in the next week, that are opening the door to the possibility of taking long-term decisions, like a decision you could make in the next 1 week that would have ramifications like for the next year, 6 months or year or something. I think that's what's coming up for you right now. You need to be very careful that you don't jump into something like that. Because I think what's happening now is you're getting to the point where you're starting to write narratives and you're starting to write stories for yourself about why your problem is you can never be happy enough because you're not taking fast enough action and instead you're getting sucked into whirlpools. But it's all very convoluted for you. This is very mental chaos kind of spread. It's a lot that you're going through, and I'm sure that it's difficult right now. This opportunity that can come up that makes you think, I have to do this action. This is the key to happiness. This is not necessarily going to be that grounded, realistic step that we were talking about. This could very well be something that's way too risky for you. And I think what can happen is you're going to sit down and you're going to go into internal argument because part of you will say, this is too risky. I can't do this. This is too rash. It's too sudden. And then what's going to happen is you're going to sit down and you're going to say, no, it's not. It's healthy. It's actually really good. Yeah, I can think of 10, 20, 30 reasons why it's actually the right time for this move. Yeah, it's happening very suddenly, but that's okay. Like, I'll make it work. I'm really good at making things work quickly. And so you're going to start to convince yourself that it's okay. But the fact is that itself is just a symptom of the monkey mind and the new idea that keeps popping up. So what's a better course of action that we already talked a little bit about that course of action. But I want to talk now about, like, how are things actually going to work out? So now I actually have good news for you. You have a direct 2 of diamonds. So I think what's going to happen is, in general, hopefully most of you, are going to be able to avoid that rashness. I think something's going to come up very unexpected, which often happens when we're in the monkey mind, like endless idea phase, is something totally unusual happens. And oftentimes it is something very kind of mundane, like you're walking down the street and you're thinking about all your problems and are you going to quit your job and are you going to start road tripping around the country? And then all of a sudden you're walking down the street and, some neighbor, like, you get hit by, this is so random, you get hit by the neighbor has their sprinkler running to water their lawn, and you're walking right next to their lawn, and the sprinkler system just like hits you and gets you soaking wet, and then you stop, and the neighbor apologizes, and then you start talking to the neighbor for a second, and you're talking about sprinkler systems, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're like, I don't know, having a conversation with that person about lawn care, because you're asking them about how they take care of their lawn and how often they water it and how often the sprinkler system runs. The next thing you know, you're getting into gardening, and then you're going to the garden store and you're buying some pots and you're buying some shovels and you're buying some bulbs to plant, whatever, right? What I'm saying is it's like a new skill. I really think it like a skill is what I'm feeling, because all these things can have multiple meanings. Some of you could be contemplating moving somewhere, and some of you could get a financial opportunity that comes in. I think that's possible here, and the money would be almost a little bit of a distraction. It would sort of be like, oh, okay, I can think more about money now. I can think about something grounded. But I think the highest vibration of what could happen here, and try to open the door to this possibility if you can, really involves learning something new. I think that's going to be very refreshing for you guys for this Peppermint group, okay? If you can learn a new skill, you don't have to get very good at it, but just like learn about gardening, learn about like sewing or knitting, starting to learn about a new sport, or starting a new workout at the gym or something, especially if you can have a mentor or someone to talk to you about it and guide you a little bit and be like, oh, hey, you can do this. You can actually do that. You could actually, if you go to this store and they sell this product, that would really help you. If you just drive a little bit over here, then you'll be all set with the supplies you need to start your new hobby or whatever. Something like that. It's like something fresh where you can just like come together with it. I think that's ultimately what's going to work for you. And it's going to take you off this path of being confused. I think the rash, bold action is very risky for you right now. I just feel like Peppermint Group, there are scenarios that could happen in the next week that could be pretty stressful and that could make you feel like you have 24 hours to make a decision that could forever change your life. So just back off a little bit from that. In general, those opportunities are kind of like, there's more than meets the eye. There might be a little bit of deception happening. So just try something more simple right now. Try something more grounded and basic. And I think that's going to help you deal with this feeling of being overwhelmed and not being able to make the most of what you have going on for you. All right. The last one is Clove. I should be smelling these oils as I go along to get me in the spirit. But I didn't think of it till now, so I'll just take a little hit off the clove. I actually really like clove bud myself. I think it's a very, very earthy smell, and also kind of festive in a way, right? Makes you think of the holidays sometimes with clove. Okay, so let's get going for our third and final spread about your problems this week. Clove problems. Oops. 1, 2, 3. All right. What problem are you facing? What is really going on here? Okay, so yeah. This is a spread all about, there's a lot of contradictions happening for you right now in a certain way. The problem that what you think is going on is you actually feel all of a sudden you've been thrust into a position of isolation. Jack of Spades card. Having to take care of yourself and having no one to rely on. You think the situation is that if you just work hard enough, you'll get there. I feel like there's a lot of work in this spread as well. So it's like if you absolutely grind this week and put in so much effort, like a huge amount of effort, like your boss tells you to get through like 3 reports and you get through like 7, like something like that. And everyone's like, did you spend all weekend at the office? It's that kind of a thing. It's like, you think that if you can make that happen, that your problem will be solved. It's a sense of like the problem being, I need to take my work ethic, whatever it is, and triple it. Actually, what's going on is the real problem is an authority figure. I do think this is probably a person, someone in a business role. It's most likely a boss, and it could be a spouse, could be a husband, it could be a father. It's someone who you tend to go to for advice, I think, and I feel like there's a sense of a mentorship quality or a superiority, like they have some leverage over you, some advisory role over you, and your focus is all on yourself. But a lot of what's happening right now, and why the workload in your life, whether it's work or whether it could be in the home, the reason why that has ramped up so huge right now for you guys is that it's actually not really about you. And so what's happened is you've kind of had a moment of amnesia, a little blip where you're like, oh, it's about me. All of a sudden I have all this stuff I need to do. If I'm a good person, I'll work 500 hours, right? Actually, the reason why you're perceiving this huge jump is because there's something going on with your boss or your mentor or husband or this role model figure. They seem like they're kind of in this maybe not benevolent, but they're coming off like the good guy in whatever's going on. But there's more than meets the eye there. There's stuff that's going on where they're basically creating expectations. And even if it looks like, oh no, they didn't tell me to do all this extra work, they're not being unfair at all. They're just being a good boss. They're just being a good husband. They're not telling me to do extra stuff. Even if it feels that way, remember, there's multiple levels of consciousness and energy, and on a certain level, they're creating an energetic expectation for you that might not be fair. So what do you think you need to do about this situation? For you, you think it's a 6 of diamonds. This is interesting. So I think where this energy is going to, it's not so much you need to embody the 6 of diamonds as a person. Someone who's embodying the 6 of diamonds as a person would be like going to the spa. They wouldn't really be working very much, most likely. You know, it can have that connotation. It can be like Venus and Taurus. So it can be like basically going to the spa. But I don't think that's what we're dealing with. I think the sense is you feel that what you should do is make your environment like a 6 of diamonds. You need to turn your situation into a spa. If you're in any kind of a beauty or aesthetic or artistic minded profession, this would be the equivalent of like making everything in the store look beautiful or cleaning everything perfectly. Or in an office setting, it could be like taking care of all of the work. So all the clients in your imagination, all the clients will be totally pleased and endlessly happy with you and will want to like stay with your business forever and give you all their money and give you all their business. And if it's in the home, it would be like, you know, making the home spotless and gorgeous and making it look like this model home that would be in some like magazine for good housekeeping or something, right? It's like wanting it to just be perfect. So it's perfectionism, I feel like, for you. What you need to actually do, though, is 2 of clubs here, and I immediately think there's a resonance with the King of Clubs. I immediately think that what we're dealing with is you need to do a little bit of digging in some sense about what's going on with this authority figure. I think saying as a boss is the most ready kind of, it comes to mind right away. But again, I already said it could be other individuals in your life. But just to use the word boss, you need to figure out what's going on with the boss. And the answer might be very surprising to you. This could involve literally just sitting down and slowing down your mind and doing a little journaling about like, okay, what do I know about my boss, teacher, mentor, husband, whatever? What do I know about their behavioral patterns? How do other people feel about them? How have I felt about them in the past? What do I know about other aspects of their life? Like if it's a boss, what do I know about their personal life that's not the workplace? Like almost doing a psychological profile of them. Now, not to be weird, not to get, you're not stalking anyone. It's nothing to do with that. It's simply detective work for your own benefit with what you already know. There's a caveat to that, which I do feel there's a possibility that there might be actual things that you don't know about them. actual details that could explain why you feel that the workload has gone through the roof. It could literally be like your boss is planning on quitting next month and they haven't told anyone at the company yet. And that's why you're maybe empathically, you're picking up on the fact that your boss or coworker or colleague or senior colleague, whatever, you're picking up on the fact that they're going to quit. And you can tell that they're starting to push more and more workload on other people. But your coworkers maybe haven't picked up on that because they're not as sensitive, but you can feel it. So you're going crazy with work mode or something like that. So it could be a piece of information about them, so it's possible that in an ethical way, you could do a little bit of digging, or just ask questions of other people, or just keep an open mind that there might be stuff I don't know. You might need to actually educate yourself about what's going on in this situation, because there's a reason why you feel so incredibly overworked, and it might not be something that you have in the forefront of your mind. It might be something you have to learn about, or that you'll only learn about a little later. The major pitfall is the Queen of Hearts. I don't think this is a person as much. It could be a motherly type of figure. It could be a coworker who's very sweet and generous, who actually is going to screw you over in the end. No, it could be kind of a really motherly coworker, or a really motherly, it could be your mom, who seems like she's going to kind of help you out in this situation, but then she's going to kind of disappear. But I think it's more about your own energy in this case. With what we're seeing so far, I think the pitfall here is that you just try to take care of everything yourself. And I think you think that the way forward is that you have to mother the situation. Again, you have to beautify everything. You have to please all the clients. You have to make your house sparkling so that when your in-laws come and visit, they give you a gold star. You feel that it's your job to do all this when there's information you don't know about what's going on with the other party, who's a male, almost for sure. All right? This is about you overworking yourself. And so the last thing is, what's actually going to happen? Reverse 2 of spades. There's a very high probability that you are not quite able to assimilate this information, or you think you are, and then shit happens, and you end up biting off more than you can chew. And you might not end up taking care of yourself. So probably what's going to happen for you is you are going to push yourself a little harder than you need to. And you might even get a little bit sick. You might have to stay in bed. You might get super fatigued for a weekend and just need to take a break and not do anything. And I think by the end of it, you're going to actually be reevaluating your connection with the other person and your connection with the self. But I feel like you're going to be actually quite disillusioned. You're going to end up saying oh my God, what just happened? I thought I was prepared for this situation, but here I am. It's 1 p.m. and I don't want to get out of bed. I practically want to go grab some ice cream and get back in bed. And I don't even really know why. I just feel so out of it. I feel like there's going to be a period of that happening. But the plus side is when you get out of that, you have the opportunity to do some self-care and get back to the mode of asking questions. I don't think you're asking enough questions right now. So if you do get a little tripped up, if you do overwork yourself, try to get back to that place where you just ask questions about the dynamic, about why you feel that you have to work so hard and who exactly you're trying to impress here. And maybe there's some information behind the scenes about other people in your life who are subconsciously pushing their stuff onto you, and it's turning you into a little robot trying to clean everything, take care of everything, beautify everything. Okay, that being said, that was the Clove reading, everyone. So I hope that shed some light for you. We did 3 readings. It took a little longer than I thought, but I'm glad I got through it, and I feel good about it. I hope you feel good about it. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful week.